So bad. All right, let's talk college football because we got a lot to get to between now and 9 o'clock. But look, the Gophers got back on track. They looked like they were going to easily cover with an 18-point halftime lead. Mm-hmm. We bet around 20 points, right? But I believe the spread closed at something like 18 and a half, 19, something like that. Second half, brutal, though, right? Morgan, something like 0 for 6, made no completions in the second half. PJ probably not very happy about it.
No, PJ was really upset. I have in his 5 years, it's probably the most upset I've seen him. A big 21-3 lead at the half. But, and again, a lot of MAC teams, I think, will come out 21-3 and kind of just roll over. They didn't roll over Miami of Ohio. And Minnesota, at the same point, kind of relaxed. And, some of it was play calling. Probably more of it was execution. And just some technique issues, like several times where they made plays in the first half with like deep vertical routes where the cornerbacks from Minnesota are making plays, high point in the football. Second half they didn't, So again, mostly execution, maybe a little bit of effort, which I hate to say the effort, but it just seemed like too many drop balls, too much missed technique in space, and so a lot of that stuff needs to get shored up because it was fine for At first, you're like, whoa, this will be kind of a fun game. It'll be a little bit more competitive. By the middle of the fourth quarter, when it's a one-possession game, you're getting nervous because you can't. Those are the types of games that, it kind of sets a program back. You can't lose that game. So the good news for them is they finished with the victory. They found a new running back in Trey Potts that looks a bit more like Mo than we probably expected, although I think he carried the football way too much. But the execution will need to be much better on Saturday to go into a hostile environment at 5,000 feet above elevation to come out with a victory. And
we'll never know what kind of momentum change there would have been if they hadn't had that penalty after the touchdown when they were down 2, when Miami of Ohio was down 2. It moves them back, and the coach chickens out and goes for 1, which I still think is preposterous, even from the 7-yard line or whatever. I don't understand what an extra point gets you to go down 1 when you're midway through the fourth. But if that penalty doesn't happen, that guy clearly goes for 2. If they tie it up there...
It's tight.
That might honestly shock the world a little bit and scare the Gophers, but the fact that they just end up kicking the extra point and you have the lead, maybe it gave the Gophers a little bit of breathing room. Don't know, but we'll never know.
Yeah, but you're right. All of a sudden, that's a tie game. You get under center, your hands are a little clammy. It gets you nervous because now you're maybe in a position where you're playing not to lose. Now you got to go and find a way to win that game.
I still think you have to go for it there. I know it's from the 7.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
especially you're a MAC team on the road, you got nothing to lose.
Right, and people forget. You can get a penalty the other way, right?
Yeah.
Do your best play from the 7. You can draw a penalty and get those 5 yards or even more right back. You draw a pass interference or something. I can't believe that guy kicked that extra point to go down 1. That makes no sense to me. But whatever. I
think they had confidence in their defense, but given that you're on the road, Big Ten environment, gosh, why not take a chance?
And especially if the final score is 21-20,
right? Then
you have that question to answer. Go, why didn't we go for 2? Yeah. So that's the big flaw there. Is you got to just assume that you're not going to score again.
Yep.
So you got to take that opportunity.
So a lot of things to shore up though. Defensively, not where we needed to be. I think the D line that we've talked a lot about. Still through 2 games, no sacks, and candidly not a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So they need to find a way with Joe Rossi calling defenses that finds a way to put some pressure on a quarterback. They're playing a young quarterback this week in Colorado. He's going to be making his 3rd start. That's the recipe for a lot of pressure with blitzes and kind of just showing him coverages he maybe hasn't seen or great disguises. But this defense needs to get better. And again, this is like the 2019 all over again where we struggled in non-conference. But you're going to have to find momentum in the month of September so you can get ready for that, that tougher competition in October. And again, if you look at what Colorado did a week ago, they played a number 5 Texas A&M team in Denver and had a lead for candidly 56 minutes. They outplayed that team. And so they want to go ahead and finish a game against a Power 5 team, and so they're excited to get back on the field.
Mm-hmm. I just think our D-backs need to play a little bit better. Did you feel that too? What
PJ's talked about it, and I love this because this is my position. It's called lean and locate, right? So of course, you can't physically touch the wide receiver, but there's kind of a body positioning game. And so as you're locating the ball, you kind of lean into the receiver. And when that ball's at its highest point, as a defensive back, you have to go up and high point the ball and knock it out. Mm-hmm. And they got away from that. And again, that's the lack of execution that he's talking about. That was really clean in the first half, but was missing in the second half. Same thing on offense. Dalen Wright's having a huge first half. We're seeing the kid from Texas A&M that we expected. I think he drops 4 balls in that second half. One was on a route where he literally fell down. But you got to clean that up. I mean, we need a go-to receiver, especially with Chris Ottman-Bell out, and he needed to be that guy. I think Chris comes back this week. He's desperately needed to get back on the field. But hopefully the combination of him back, Dalen Wright kind of playing at a higher level, this passing game can get going. Because I think if you look at the first 2 games, and you look at 34 carries for 178 yards for Trey Potts, Colorado's scheming a Gopher team that wants to run the football. I think, again, that's going to open up that passing game, but you have to execute and make those catches when they're needed to move the chains.
Ben, Tommy and Justin, a little too close to the program, maybe thinking with their hearts, not with their heads. As an outsider. Not those two. As an outsider, PJ Fleck to USC as a possibility, right? He's in the mix in terms of the odds of the next coach at USC. How do you feel about, if you're USC, is he even remotely the right pick, and why or why not?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I just can't picture him there. Look, I think that USC and Texas have identical problems. They rely on their name too much. They have zero identity, and they don't have a course of action for what they want their team and their identity and their brand to be on the football field. They always go for, it seems like on the outside looking in, they always go for the great recruiter. Who's the great recruiter and as far as a head coach? We just need to get recruits in. Take a page out of Alabama. It's not about just recruiting. It's recruiting for what you want and what you want to build. They can get as many 4- and 5-star guys as any other program in the country. But what they fail to do all the time is find, A, quarterback, and then B, they don't have any toughness on their teams. They get a bunch of athletes that are 4 and 5 guys, and they have a bunch of individually good players. They don't have team players. They don't have the 2- and 3-star grinder guys. They don't have the practice guys that actually want to be there and practice. They have a bunch of front-running, showcasing type of guys, and that's not how you build a program. You need those guys to be your production guys on Saturday, but they don't have the guys that build the team on Sunday through Friday. They just don't. And I'm not just making that up. I've talked to people within both programs, and they say what happens a lot of times is they get into practice. They can't even get high quality practice reps because every guy that's on the look squad or the scout squad, they don't feel like they belong there because they all feel
it's hard to take a 4-star kid and say, hey,
they all
run
feel
scout
like,
team.
Yeah, they all feel like they're starters.
Yeah.
And so they don't give very good effort. They don't give you very good looks. And the team, because they get pampered so much, they're not tough. And look what happened to Texas when they go into Arkansas. Arkansas was supposed to finish second to last in the SEC West. They're not a dominant SEC team. Tough environment, absolutely. I think everybody saw the attendance and If you're Texas, you're going to play in tough environment. You have a bullseye in your back every game. But the fact that time and time again you get pushed around, same thing with USC. I think that at both programs, the governing bodies, the Board of Regents or whoever, needs to stay the hell away. Stop acting like you know how to hire a coach. And I think it's going to take a coach that can come into a big program like that and tell everybody to screw off. This is going to be my program, and I'm going to run it the way I want and not have any outside influence. And I just don't think that a guy that has zero connections to the area, that really, let's be honest, has not been proven even in the Big Ten to go out there and think that he can resurrect and turn around the identity of USC football. I just don't see it.
Crazy to think they fired him after week 2.
After week 2?
I don't even get it.
What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, he's been on the hot seat for a while. I mean, it's not like
I guess if it's inevitable, it's immediate.
It's been a boiling deal for a while, and it just finally.
How do you get into the season then? You know what I mean? That's the thing that I always wonder. Like, how do you even let him have another season if he's that close on the hot seat?
Well, I believe that he finished pretty strong last year. I think everybody thought that, okay, your young quarterback finally turned a corner, and then we all know what that sort of feels like. Oh, okay, now that we have the quarterback figured out that, okay, now we're ready to go.
Yeah.
But
I mean, think of those 2 jobs, though. You are in the hottest recruiting parts of the country in Southern California and Texas.
Yeah. And that's they're losing guys. They're losing guys to Oregon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Oregon's now is becoming a tough football team that's going to punch you in the face. A lot of guys from that area are going to, they're going to SEC territory. They're getting highly recruited in those other conferences. So, I think the change needed to happen. I'm not so sure I'm not so sure Franklin's the guy.
Who do you think's a fit? What type of guy? If you could make a magic potion, who would be your type of guy?
I don't know. I think you need an older school coach.
Yeah,
I think you need a guy that's been around that doesn't care about ruffling feathers.
Yeah, I was listening to Dan Patrick. He made a good point. He said, what if Shaw came down from Stanford? I think that'd be a really good fit.
Super well respected.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And a big tough team, run power at USC would be sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you could run power with a guy like a Reggie Bush type of caliber running back.
Oh, yeah. Get back to the glory days.
Reggie Allendale, man. Remember that?
Oh,
yeah, right. Hey,
that was Texas, too. That was the same time.
Yeah, right.
Exactly what you said.
Let me take you to it. The question, though, from a different angle. Do you legitimately think that in the national view, when these teams are looking for coaches, that they are even considering PJ?
Yeah. Because I think he builds a lot of hype and excitement.
Yeah.
And I think that he's you're trying to find a CEO of your athletics department. That's basically what you're doing. And really, when it comes to football, some of these programs, you are higher than a lot of the presidents and whatever. You are the face of the university. And so for PJ, I understand that if you're looking for a CEO that is clean cut, good looking dude, has high energy, positive energy, and can recruit, he's the guy. Mm-hmm. I would never look at one of these big programs and be like, I don't understand why you're hiring. I totally get why you would look at a guy like PJ Fleck and say, I want him to be the forward-facing image of our university because he is nothing but positivity. He's never had any blemishes. As far as I know, there's no behind-the-scenes stories that people are keeping at bay. Where some of these, and I won't name them just because it's not public, but some of these guys are functioning alcoholics and whatever, and they're just one DUI from getting busted and tarnishing the program. He has no baggage as far as we know.
Well, we were saying earlier, I think he wants to be the guy that becomes the Barry Alvarez of Minnesota, the Hayden Fry.
I hope so.
Become the guy that when you look back in 30 years, that you'll point to him saying, remember those 15 years that PJ Fleck came in Minnesota and got them back to the national prominence. That's what he always talks about and why the culture is where it's at Wisconsin and at Iowa. And it's because of the continuity.
So let me push back on that. People can talk about being legendary all they want, but until you prove that you're going to be legendary every day with your product, that's the other issue.
You earn that.
You got to earn it. Yep. You can dream it all you want. Hey, I want a statue built outside of my success after 10 or 15, 20 years at a program. But what's holding this team back? Yeah. This team is not over the hump yet.
Well, and also, Flash, I mean, if you're going to sell row the boat culture, right, that we're all in this together, we row together, how many times can you jump schools before that just doesn't make any sense, right? You almost have to stay where you are. We all understand the first jump, but once you get to a big Power 5 school, it's harder to sell that if you keep moving.
Well, and people have told me on the outside, you can't do that necessarily at the helmet schools. I don't think Notre Dame's going to let you row the boat. I don't think USC is going to get rid of everything else in the Trojan horse and say, we're now rowing the boat. So I do think it's a unique situation where it fits. And you're right. You can't, if you keep hopping that around, it's going to lose its
meaning. You can row the horse.
Yeah, row the horse.
You can row the horse. Is that not true? Real quick, damn, I had a question, then it was gone for a second there.
Can I ask Ben a question?
I would love it.
A lot of discussion this week on plane and elevation. I never had a chance to play in the Colorado area. We were sea level. We'd go west, and we go way west.
Yeah.
We go to San Diego State, Kansas State, middle of the Midwest. PJ Fleck did a bunch of studies in the offseason, and what his thoughts in going in is to get what they've learned is you get in and out as fast as you can. Someone told me that I believe they're going in late afternoon, early evening on Friday to try to be there no more than 24 hours. So it's the opposite of we're going to
get acclimated
and get used to this, where it's what their research says is you get in and out as fast as you can. And really, you kind of minimize the discussion about elevation.
Look, I heard all that BS when I was in San Diego. Look, we went from zero sea level, to the Mile High Stadium. We played there every year. Our doctors said the same thing. Our doctors try to convince us and play the mind games of, well, science says that if you're there, it takes, you have to be there for more than 24 hours for your body to feel the effects of the higher altitude and the thinner air. You can have all of the researched science that you want. Anecdotally, everybody that goes and flies into Colorado from here on a vacation, or if you're in San Diego and you're just going to go, it affects you immediately. So those stupid scientists need to go out there and run down
for a run now
and run down on kickoff. Yeah. And you tell me, how do you feel right now versus how do you feel at Huntington Bank Stadium after running down? So I think all of that is
plus it's supposed to be 92 degrees.
They're mind messing with you. That's all it is. Like, they're trying to convince you that and use the placebo effect of it's not going to affect you. You're going to be fine. Really? Then why do you have 12 oxygen tanks on the sidelines for us? Really? If you really believe that, then why do you have all these oxygen tanks with these face masks that we use all the time after every series?
Did you ever play out there, Thomas?
Closest I did, I think, was Vegas. Yeah, so not really.
No. And that's a little bit of my concern when you look at this team. You run the ball 47 times this last game. Okay, that means your offensive line, who you've claimed is one of the biggest in the college football, you're asking them
the best
to be,
in the state.
Yeah.
100%.
You're asking them to be on the field for 8, 9, 10, 12 play drives in altitude for 4 quarters when the last 2 games as a team they've failed in the second half. I mean, I think that you need a quick strike offense somehow, some way to all of a sudden
get your offense off the field,
come to fruition in the next 48 hours. Because if you don't have the ability to go quick strike in high altitude, you're going to wear out in the third and fourth quarter. It just is. And you can put all your stupid science up against it, and I'm going to push back and say
stupid science.
I've been there. I've been there, and I've done it many times. Absolutely, and I'm not the only one. Every guy, it's like, dude, are your legs burning? Yeah, dude, my legs are burning. Like, what the heck? Like, my lungs are burning. Like, it's real.
It's real. Yeah.
More importantly, number 7 Maple Grove hosts number 8 Minnetonka Friday night.
It's a big one, dude.
It's a big one.
That's a huge bitch.
And listen, I
know where you live.
You know where I live. I know where you live. I know where your heart lies. I'm willing to put $100 on my Maple Grove.
Oh wow, straight up!
Right now,
do you remember Evan Hall?
Of course.
Well, they have a guy named Derek Jameson Jr., who they believe is better than Evan Hall.
I've been coaching him his entire life.
So this, I'm sure you have.
I have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is a David versus Goliath battle. I mean, they're 7, Minnetonka's 8. They've had 2 games in a row where they've blown out opponents. We've struggled.
Look at him trying to sell me
this
here.
is David Goliath. It's 7-8.
But I believe and David Goliath, did David win?
David did.
So I'm taking the skips, $100.
There you go, $100 it is.
That's 9 to
Money
noon.
on high school football.
Let's go, Cade. Make it happen, bud.
Let's go, Crimson.
And just let me know about the picks that I sent you over.
So the other,
you might want to chew on it.
Well, no, I don't want to chew on it. So 29 years ago, second game of my career, the number 11 Colorado Buffaloes traveled to the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome.
Hell yeah. R.I.P. Love it.
And got off to a fast start for the Gophers did, of course. We're up 17-0. I'm this little kid from Fargo manning up with Michael Westbrook the entire game.
Look at you.
They take a 21-20 lead late in the fourth quarter.
So you did a bad job.
We attempt a 55-yard field goal as time runs out to win and have the victory of a lifetime against the top-rated Buffaloes. It's wide left.
Oh.
Shocking.
29 years later, we take the nation's longest non-conference winning streak, which is at 20, and we extend it to 21 as Minnesota wins and makes that field goal this time, 23-21.
Hell yeah, we do.
God, I can't wait.
So, Ben, I'm taking Gophers. Woo!
Oh, we're betting the Gopher Colorado.
Love it.
We rarely do it.
Hell yeah.
Ben sends me 5 different games that he likes, and I look through the 5, and you know what? I'm traveling out there, so I like to have money on the game.
Yep.
This makes it more fun, right? Betting's more fun.
With money on the line.
So money on the line. I'm taking my Gophers +3 road tripping
Yeah.
against the Buffaloes, who are -3 at home.
We're at the point now where Tommy gets equally excited about Justin's predictions as an actual Gopher win.
Because you don't know.
Yeah, right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I love him.
You never know. I might flip it and all of a sudden pick against them, but
Right.
Yeah.
But I have all the insights here. It's hard to look at the statistics, but this is a Buffalo team that's very physical. It's not the Colorado team that we grew up with. This is not a run and shoot.
Yeah.
This is just like the Gophers. It's ground and pound, and for Minnesota, this defense, they'll have their work cut out for them. But I do believe a low-scoring game, and I like Minnesota late with a game-winning field goal. It's that
This
easy.
is the best. And,
That's how I see it.
do you want to borrow my truck for all the pot you're bringing back, or you got it covered?
Zach's got me covered.
Okay, good. The Fargo
thanks,
Flash.
Flash.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
buddy. Don't
Toast
speak
us
about
rules.
there.